And good evening and welcome to Ask Nine. I'm Jim Mertens. Becky has got the night off. She has left me in charge. I have never touched these buttons before except in practice. I promise I'm doing the best I can, and hopefully this new technology doesn't get the best of me, which is also something that we could talk about someday when it comes to Ask Nine, of course. One of the things that we really want to do during this program, of course, is to answer a lot of your questions, a lot of the things that you're worried about, a lot of things that you've been thinking about when it comes to television. And one of the things that's been happening lately is we've been talking a lot about YouTube and KCRG TV9 and YouTube. And the real question is, at the end of the week and starting next weekend, will you be able to access KCRG TV9 programming, which includes ABC programming, on YouTube starting this weekend? And that's where we start with the question that is coming from Jeanette right now, who wants to know how come KCRG is going away. Well, KCRG is not going away, so we wanted to clarify that, but it is perhaps going to be taken off of YouTube if negotiations don't go well by this weekend. Now, a person who really could explain the nuts and bolts is our news director, Adam Karras. He's been keeping an eye on this story and how it can affect us, and so I asked him that very question. So Adam, tell us a little bit about, a lot of people are thinking, because we're getting a lot of comments because we've been putting on the air the fact that this YouTube deadline is coming up and they think Channel 9's gone by the end of the week.
I hope not, but that is the distinct possibility. And you're hearing it a lot, primarily from ABC, ESPN, and all of the Disney channels that are out there.
Not broadcast. I mean, if you get us on cable, if you get us broadcast, no problem at all, which is, let's be honest, a majority?
Yes, a majority in this market are not YouTube TV, but YouTube TV is a pretty large percentage. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but something probably in the 10-20% range of viewers in the KCRG area have YouTube TV.
So why doesn't KCRG or its owner, Gray, negotiate with YouTube?
We would love to. That would be a much better situation from a financial standpoint, and logistically, we'd have a little bit more control over it for KCRG and for Gray. But that's unfortunately not the way these MVPDs, or really the streaming rights, so you think Hulu Live, YouTube TV, they were structured differently. So the contract and those agreements are between the providers, so Hulu Live, YouTube TV, Google in this case, and the network, so NBC, ABC, et cetera, and ABC obviously being Disney, covers a lot more than just ABC. It's also ESPN, the Disney Channel, and then several other networks that Disney operates.
Because a lot of times there's been negotiating issues with cable companies like, let's say, Mediacom, but
Yes.
that's a retransmission right, which has to do specifically with this TV station or the corporate's TV stations. This is totally different.
Yes, very different, and you're absolutely right. The Mediacoms, anyone who's had cable, satellite TV for the last several years probably ran into this where a channel or several channels get blocked out. That's because of these these retrans negotiations, where essentially the stations are charging a fee to Mediacom, whoever, to carry their content, for the rights for them to market their content and sell consumers a cable package that includes KCRG or NBC or ESPN or whatever the provider may be. And so the networks, or the local stations, KCRG and our parent company, Gray, we're able to negotiate those directly with the cable companies. So we have a lot more say in that. We have a lot more control on that. What makes this case weird is we're kind of caught in the middle, and that it's Google and YouTube TV negotiating with Disney, and Disney then represents ABC and all of ABC's affiliates. So that includes KCRG, their ABC owned and operated network affiliates, all of them. So we're kind of, in this case, a lot like the viewers, we're caught in the middle. We're hoping we're not going off the air, and there's still a really good chance that nothing comes of this, that we're still on the air as of this week.
And when you say on the air, you mean on stream?
On streaming, yes.
Which is a huge difference now.
Big difference.
But isn't that the future? I mean, isn't this really a testing of the waters when you have Disney negotiating with YouTube? It shows you the power of YouTube right now when it comes to providing programming.
Yeah, it's really a lot different because the scale is a lot different. Before it'd be Gray, which has 115 markets or so nationwide, which is pretty powerful. But ABC then has every market. And so that's a lot bigger of a negotiation than between ABC, and then again, it's not just ABC, it's ESPN, it's Disney Channel, it's a whole bunch of channels that ABC operates. And so you'll see some of those programs and those networks airing these same things. And you're right, it's a different landscape, and I think it'll be interesting to see this industry is changing so quickly with
Absolutely.
technology. You mentioned the streaming aspect, and that's really helping enable cord cutters because you don't need a cable package, you don't need satellite anymore to get all of your
a la
channels.
carte what you want.
And antennas have gotten a lot more powerful, and the streaming capabilities have gotten a lot more powerful. That you really can. You see it a lot of a la carte. I mean, how many streaming providers are there out there? You have, Paramount and HBO and Disney and Netflix. I mean, there's tons of streaming providers out there, each with their own little carve-out pieces of content that people are getting more and more used to dealing with those providers more so than necessarily a cable subscription.
So if you're not getting Channel 9 on YouTube, you're just fine.
You're just fine. You can ignore those warnings this time, but it is kind of a harbinger of, like you said,
That's
of
what I
what's to
was-
come. Because right now, ABC is the latest one, but NBC is having the exact same negotiation with Google and YouTube TV right now. They're at a little bit farther along. They came to their deadline. They actually extended it. So that's what we're hoping for from Disney and YouTube, that negotiations are going well enough that both sides agree. We don't want to pull our networks off of YouTube TV. YouTube TV doesn't want to see these channels go away from their subscriber base. And so they say, you know what, let's just continue as we are as we continue these negotiations. And in that case, viewers will be unaffected. You'll still be able to access KCRG and all the ABC channels on YouTube TV. So that's what we're hoping for. They did that with NBC. We're hoping we see something similar with ABC, if not a permanent deal to get done.
And the deadline is this Friday, October 31st. And let's be
Correct.
honest, as you all know, negotiations go down to the 11th hour. So we may not know anything until Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah, we really may not. I believe NBC's was a little bit of a last minute deal. I think maybe the day before the deadline that they extended that. So really it is, we may not know until the last minute, but until then we're kind of holding out hope. And that's why we're getting this information out there now. You'll see the crawls running at the bottom of our screen. Our website has an article up that's trying to explain a little bit of this situation, this back and forth, because we do want our viewers to be prepared. If you just suddenly turn on and don't see a channel that you're expecting, you don't see KCRG, that's really frustrating. And so the more we can prepare viewers ahead of time and let them know, hey, you can download our apps and get us on streaming, so you can still see our newscasts. You can get an antenna. Antenna is free over the air, outside of the cost of buying an antenna and getting it mounted somewhere in your house. And then you get KCRG and ABC completely for free. So there's options, the old school route, exactly. And that's the other part that I think has enabled this transition, and be interesting to see where this goes, is antennas have gotten so much more better and so much more powerful. And we just upgraded our signal earlier this year, so that has a lot different capabilities, and we're reaching areas that we haven't been able to reach before in a much stronger signal. And so it's not the fuzzy TV with the rabbit ears and tin foil on the end of them to try and maximize. And
Or my older brother having to hold part of the antenna just so we could watch the Packer game.
Exactly. So we've advanced well beyond that when it comes to antennas, to where you have 3 or 4 channels per channel. And that's only going to expand with ATSC 3.0 when that does come out eventually for the Cedar Rapids market. All of a sudden, KCRG is going to be able to carry a whole lot more channels, as are all the other networks in the area. And so that's going to change it again.
We'll get a chance to talk about that in the future.
We can talk about that when we get a question about that. You never know.
Adam, thanks so much.
All right, thanks, Jim.
It is interesting that, once again, if you go old school, so to speak, if you have the antenna, you're fine. If you have cable, you're fine. It's just the YouTube streaming where you could have issues. And of course, we keep pushing the fact that you can go back to cable and antenna, and also make sure you get the KCRG app. It does allow you instant weather updates all the time. We can't sell that. It's in your hands all the time. It is our best way to reach you as quickly as possible. Now, here's a question that we get every now and then, and it's, I got to admit, a little bit of an embarrassing question. So Liz wants to know, why do we see misspellings on the air? The simple reason, and I'll tell you the truth, it's because we screwed up, and we apologize for it. Now, spelling errors happen so easily. They're human error, of course. We do have, of course, spell check on a number of our computers, including the one that generates the words on the bottom. All those words that you see on the bottom of the screen, the words that are superimposed, they're actually what we call supers, so to speak. Makes sense, doesn't it? Well, sometimes we're manually entering those all the time, but sometimes we misspell something. And to be honest, spell check sometimes gives us the wrong word. You've had that when you've texted and the texting says, no, that's not what you meant, this is what you meant. That happens to us at times, but it's a fact error. And it's something that we try to avoid at all costs. And when it does happen, we apologize for it. It was not intentional, it's fact error. We try to double check things, a second set of eyes on supers, but to be honest, sometimes we just miss things. So Liz, why do we see misspellings on the air sometimes? It's because we made a mistake. And hopefully you see them very seldom. And hopefully, actually, you see them never. We do want to thank you for all of the interest that you've had on this show. And Becky will be back on Wednesday. You're stuck with me again tomorrow by myself, but I'm being joined by Joe Winters. And I love talking to Joe Winters. And they have a special weather program as well that is streaming that has just started. But Joe's going to be talking about those woolly caterpillars. Now, we hear about it every single year. What does it mean? Does it really accurately predict the weather? And can you explain to me the bands on the caterpillar and what that's all about and where this actually first came to be? That's our big question tomorrow, and Joe will be joining me, and I'm looking forward to talk to him about that. I'm going to ask him a couple questions about him as well to find out a little bit more about Joe that may be of interest to you. Whatever is of interest of you, all you have to do is message us at KCRG. It's either on Facebook or just email us. It's the easiest way to contact us. And we love when you ask 9, we can answer you. So if you got questions, ask 9. And we will see you tomorrow. I am joining Beth, and I'll see you tonight at 6.